What's up? This is your girl Sexton from Perth, Australia, out here in Atlanta with my girl Misty from Industry's Most Wanted.
I don't give a fuck what a fuck they think. Fuck you think. I don't give a fuck what a fuck they think. Fuck you think. I don't give a fuck what a fuck they think. What a fuck they think. Fuck what a fuck they think. What a fuck they think. Been through the worst.
Hey, what's going on, man? It is your girl, TampaMystic, and we are live. Where are we at, Sexton?
Industry's most.
Industry's Most Wanted.
I was like, Atlanta?
How you doing, beautiful? Good morning to you.
I'm feeling good. Thank you. Good morning to you, too.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here today. Y'all see this beautiful young lady I got here? She's a superstar.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Give us a brief introduction of who Sexton is, and then we're going to dive in.
For sure. I'm Sexton. It's my last name. That's what I go by. I was born in Perth, Australia, on the west coast of Australia. I broke into the game with a single called Space with TK Kravitz and hit top 10 on Billboard, first year in the game. And for the last couple of years, I've been in the industry working with amazing creatives, and I sing, I rap, I make hip hop music, and I just do me and stay raw.
Listen, I love that. That was a beautiful introduction.
Thank you. Off the brain.
Absolutely. What was your very first moment that you remember falling in love with music? And I mean like on a personal level, like you wanted to do music.
Yeah, for sure. I think probably a couple things, like seeing stuff on TV, hearing songs on the radio.
Yeah.
But I had an older sister that sang and played guitar. And my dad was always on family vacations trying to, pull out pots and pans, and he'd be the drummer and my sister would be playing the guitar. And I was just a little kid like, man, I want to do that too, And then when I started doing it and started seeing, famous artists, I think that was just the moment of like, I can do this. So I started music when I was about 9 years old. And started songwriting, and I was in a band at a little music school. And I think that was the moment where I'm like, yeah, this feels like me. This feels right.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So you really started at a very, very young age.
I did. I wrote my first song at 9. It was called 7 Seas, about building a boat to go across the world to get my man. Sounds like the epitome of my love life now.
And here you are.
Here I am in Atlanta, not coming from a man though.
Not here.
Yeah.
Shade, but no shade, but shade.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So growing up in Perth, Australia, first and foremost, I know that it's so beautiful out there. I'm slick jealous. I got to go visit sometimes. But you said it's 30-hour travel time.
Listen, from Atlanta, it's 30 hours on 3 planes.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, you got to fly the East Coast of Australia, switch planes, get your bags, go again. You're in a whole different time zone. I mean, it really feels like I'm stepping into a different universe over there. So
that is a lot on your body, too. People, I feel like they don't realize, because I think the longest I've ever been on a plane was maybe 4.5, 5 hours to go to the West Coast, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
That was a lot on me.
Yeah, I think, what's crazy is I actually think I enjoy the longer flights than I do the shorter flights. And why is because, it's a whole, journey you go on with yourself, and you're going to these different places, on the way, and just seeing all these humans, and you on the plane, they make sure the seats are comfortable, you get good movies, you get good food, for a plane level, so, level
Absolutely.
of food. But, yeah, I enjoyed it. It's like a whole little moment.
I think traveling is very important because it allows us to see other cultures, the way people do certain things, especially as an artist, because it probably allows you to draw inspiration as well when you're traveling, just to, sightsee, or even like you said, being on a plane and seeing different people.
Yeah, for sure. I think, everyone could have their opinion on this, but what I've noticed is in the American world, it seems like people love to go to Miami or to, California or to state to state. But I always encourage people to go outside of America and see, what else is in the world. Because it does. It really, really opens your mind. And even me just coming here and having experienced what I have, when I first started building my wave, I was in Detroit and Atlanta and Carolina, and seeing these different cities and the way people live, it really opened my eyes to a lot of stuff, and also showed me how, some people back home don't realize how good they have it, so.
Absolutely. So prior to you moving here, you traveled here quite a few times?
Yeah, so it's always, so being a foreigner, immigration visas and stuff, I would come back and forth a lot, so yeah.
Understood. Absolutely. Yeah. What was it that made you decide that the United States is where you wanted to come?
My God is the universe and energy. And, I actually tattooed my childhood home on my arm because when I was a kid, I was out the front of my house, and around that 9-10-year-old mark. And my best friend was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to move to LA. At that time, I thought LA was the spot I needed to be. And, become a famous entertainer. Something from the skies above, it was like, I just knew. I can't explain it. it was something from such a very young age.
Wow. And I believe that we have to follow that, whether it's our intuition or an energy or something spiritual that comes to us. We have to follow that, because I'm a believer that God, you know, or whoever your higher power is, sends us those messages, because it's already written. It's already defined what our path is going to be.
Yeah, I find I get deja vu a lot, and I can, you know, one huge dramatic movie moment of that example was I, you know, got to a point when I was probably 12, 13, where a lot of people were saying it would never happen, it would never work, you're not good enough, you'll never make it in America. It was all those comments coming in. So I actually quit everything and started being a really rebellious teenager, because I didn't know who I was without music. And then I ended up getting in a crazy car accident where a guy stole a stolen police car, that basically stole a police car, and went in a high-speed chase with all these cop cars behind him. Meanwhile, my siblings and I are driving through a green light. We hit the stolen police car and we flipped over 3 cars and survived. And after that moment, I feel like that was that God moment for me. It's like, hang on, you have a bigger purpose here on this planet. You're not going on the right path. And as soon as I locked in and was like, you know what, I'm going to move to America, and did what I had to do the steps to get here, everything kind of aligned. And so whenever I step off track from that feeling in my gut, I always pay the price or learn the truth or don't feel right, you know?
Wow.
So I'm a huge believer as well, just like following that gut intuition, because it really is like a message.
Absolutely.
You know?
Man, I just got chills right now. Like you talking about that, because absolutely you were called to do exactly what you're doing. And that moment in time, you could have lost your life, as well as you know, your siblings that were with you, but God said, it's not your time yet.
It's not the time.
And that was probably that defining moment that said, you pulled you back in.
Yeah, it did. It was like, you know, I just kissed death. I thought I had died when the car stopped flipping. I saw a white light and everything, and, you know, looked around all my family, saw people with blood all over their face, couldn't hear anything. You know, I thought that was it. So after that, I lost all fear. And I think that's been the driving force for me in the industry. You know, I've been out here by myself, so.
Absolutely. It changed your entire mindset.
Yeah.
It left the people behind that said, oh, you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
You know, that's irrelevant to you at this point.
Absolutely.
You're like, man, I moved to the whole nother country.
To anyone out there listening, I hope you do the same, because I said a quote yesterday I love, if you don't try, you're already failing. And I feel like if I had not just tried and come here, like I would still be back there questioning what if, you know?
Wow, say that one more time.
If you do not try, you're already failing, because it's like you're staying in place. You're not, you know, trying. Like, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work out. Okay, you'll probably end up in a better space in life than where you're at right now, you know, if you're not happy. So
absolutely. Because how do we know whether or not it's going to work out if we don't at least attempt to do it?
Yeah, and it won't necessarily be easy, but, you know, the feeling of knowing you tried and showing up for yourself is like...
Absolutely. Yeah. So how did moving solo across the world influence you like a little bit more to become the artist who you are today?
Man, being a female moving into Hollywood, first of all, a foreign country, then, you know, American culture, and then Hollywood culture.
Yeah.
Definitely woke me up very quickly. The way I was living before back home, and also the people compared to the people in Hollywood, is day and night. So I think it caused me to have a type of drive that I didn't have before. Like, I was always a driven person, but going into the hell of Hollywood and seeing, you know, the battles that I had to go against, it really made me really determined to like reach my goals the way I wanted to when I first set out coming here. So I think that experience like really drove me, you know. Was
LA what you thought it was going to be?
No, it wasn't. You know, some things I can say were better than I expected. I mean, I definitely got to do all the crazy big mansion party, you know, events and all the fun things of LA. I think a lot of people move to LA for the beaches and the weather, but my hometown have beautiful beaches and weather. If not, I think the beaches are better back home.
I would imagine so.
So for me, those things are what people move to LA for. For Hollywood, I always knew it was bad, but I think until you really step in the shoes and go through that journey, you can't really, you know how much it can affect your soul. And yeah, LA was definitely had its good and bad, but it wasn't what I expected, no.
Man, you are so brave.
Thank you.
Let me say that first and foremost, because it takes a lot as a young woman just to move out on her own, just to begin with. Even if it's in the same city, same state, you came all the way a 30-hour flight away. Well, you said it was a little bit less going 24. To LA, but still, that's not where you can pick up and get in your car and go drive to see your family.
No, I think from memory, like I was kind of lying to my family, like, yeah, I'll be back in a little bit, but in my head I was like, I'm gone. Like I know I can do this. And so very soon into getting to LA, I just, first started dating a guy for a little bit. In that situation, like he happened to be doing music and introduced me to like really big people in the industry. And all of a sudden I'm around like really big people. So I was nowhere near ready then, but I think it was like God saying, hey, you've got this. Here's the top of the industry. Now go put the work in and you'll get here, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely, though, on the plane, I was kind of having an anxiety attack, like, I just really left my whole life behind. Like, okay. Then even just touching down in LA, I mean, my hometown has like, I think it's around 2 million people. So going from that to flying into the LA skyline, I was like, oh my goodness, this is huge. Where do I start? I had no one to call when I got there in terms of America and the game. So I didn't really know where to start, but I figured it out.
So you basically flew here with what you could pack on the plane and then had to really start from scratch once you got here?
Yeah, I had saved up money, and also that car accident was a blessing in disguise because I got a payout from that as well. That helped set me up. But yeah, it was really just my bag, my money, and a dream in my pocket,
Wow. So look at you.
Crazy girl.
And
crazy
now
girl.
Look at her. She's doing big things. I've been hearing your name for so long, and I was like, this was so amazing that this aligned and you were able to come through today because you have a journey and you have a story to tell.
For sure.
Let's talk about this breakout track. It's called Space with TK Kravitz.
Yes.
Hit over 50 million streams, number 9 on the U.S. Billboard.
Yes.
And I want to pause right there. You hit the Billboard charts, and she's not from the U.S. You hit the U.S. Billboard charts.
Yes.
How did that feel? This beautiful girl from Perth, Australia, flew to the United States, and you hit the billboards here. How did that feel?
It felt amazing. It all happened so fast for me that I don't think I really was processing all the way what was going on. I had actually just started, finding people that wanted to work with me because at first I couldn't really get most of the industry are men, and many of the guys had other intentions.
Always.
And so it was hard to get people to work. So I really only had, from memory, like 5-10 songs under my belt. And I was just starting to develop myself. And all of a sudden I, was at the right place, right time. Me and TK collaborated, and, it was just a moment that was supposed to happen I was ready for, but in some ways wasn't. I didn't have a management team. I didn't have all the proper foundation built. So I was literally top 10 in America with no management team. I was in a record deal, but I had no internal team. So imagine walking down the street and you don't know where you're going, So I was trying to like juggle the ball going, okay, what do I do with this, But there was also am I allowed to cuss on this?
Yeah, girl, say what you want.
There was a whole shit show going on behind the scenes that was happening to me, and I feel like I was mistreated in some ways, and there was a lot of evil shit going on, so I had to deal with all that and protect myself in that whole moment. So it was beautiful, but it was like a beautiful, I wouldn't say a disaster because a lot of good shit came from it, but it was a shit show going on behind the scenes. So but to see myself next to those names and hearing my song going through arenas and on radio everywhere as a foreigner is crazy, because that is not easy. People think being foreign is an advantage. It's not always an advantage.
Absolutely, because it's like a whole new world coming here. The culture, the way people move, do things, it's very different. Learning your way around, learning the way that, people do certain things here. And I'm sure even the industry is a little bit different. If you go back home and you work in the music industry versus here, people probably move different. The business is handled differently.
Absolutely.
So it's a lot
it's
different.
Very different. It's very different.
And you don't have to get into details, but with everything that was going on behind the scenes, you said like it was a shit show. What do you think positive that you learned and pulled from that?
For sure. Make sure everything you want business-wise is on paperwork with whoever you're working with. Verbal agreements don't stand. Have protection, especially if you're a female. People around you that can make sure, your safety and your business is secured. Which is, I think they're positive because it's preparing you for moments. And then, just having a solid team. I think as much as you can search for one, I think it's very hard. I've experienced that it's hard to find that in this industry, but when you find them, hold on to them. So
it is very, very, very difficult because not everybody has good intentions, especially when you start buzzing and making some noise. People want to jump on board without good intentions because they want to ride your wave. And it's very frustrating because I feel like us as women, we're very nurturing. We want to see the good in everybody. And it always
save everybody else before yourself.
Exactly. And then it just it puts us in these situations where it's like, damn, it becomes a whole shit show.
Yeah, on a creative end, I would say to any creatives out there, you know, just no matter how much people aren't paying attention to you, just really put the work in your pen and your craft, because in that moment, you know, I was ready for it. I mean, I freestyled that song. A lot of people think a man wrote it. I wrote it, you know, and I freestyled it line by line in the booth, and that came from the 10,000 hours of work. I haven't even done 10,000 hours by that time, but yeah, just like really preparing for your moment, and don't worry if people are paying attention or not, because when you're given something, like, you got to be ready for it, you know?
Man, and you have such a dope voice too. Let me just say that, like,
thank you.
Just talking to you and then hearing you on your music, you sound almost like two different people.
Yeah.
But you have a beautiful voice on both sides.
Thank you. I think some people, you know, there's a big thing in Australia where, you know, certain people really care about like Australian accents coming through. I'm someone that just sees the planet as like planet Earth, and we're all just humans, you know. So my accent is going to bend and fold wherever I go. And I've lived in America for some years, and I'm not around Australians. So my accent does, you know, it's a melting pot now. But musically, it's actually funny. It's hard to put an Australian accent in sometimes. For example, the word can't.
Yeah.
It can be really aggressive, and it can sound like, you know, something else, a female's part. I can't do something like, so I got to mold and bend and fold wherever I need. But to an advantage, when I'm rapping, I'm like, what word am I trying to rap with? Okay, glass. Okay, then I got to do grass. And like, I'll try to like, I'll pick American or Australian depending on what word I'm trying to rhyme with.
Yes.
So it's funny. I take advantage of both.
Absolutely. And I feel like that's also important, is to incorporate your natural accent in there as well. Just like people who speak Spanish, but they also speak English.
Yeah.
Incorporate a little bit of both into your music.
Art. Why not?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and it makes,
no rules.
That's probably a part of, you know, what intrigues people a lot, because they're, you know, like, oh, she's from Australia. Let me hear what she's talking about.
Yeah. And I also like to have the, you know, the sound that I am creating. I don't want it to sound too foreign accent wise, that like it's, you know, as an American, I want them to relate too. And I want different people to relate. So I just try to put as much of everything in there.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with the song, what you did, Space with TK Kravitz, being that you've seen and are seeing a lot of success from that, what did that really teach you about timing and perseverance?
It taught me that you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. You just got to be prepared for it. You know, there's been so many days where I've had to get up and motivate myself. I've even seen people around me give up on me, you know, that I've worked with. And you just got to believe in yourself and get up every day and keep going. And like I said, work on your craft. You know, I think some artists get, especially, you know, some girls, I will say, I think some people depend on their appearance too much and depend on others. And what I've learned in this game is the more you can depend on yourself and the more skills you can learn, you're going to be better off in the long run. You're going to save money. You're going to know knowledge. So when people are trying to play you, you know when they're trying to play you because you know the skills. So it's like, you know, just prepare as much as you can.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I actually just posted, I think it was yesterday, day before, on my story, that we have to learn to stand on our own. Depending on people to put us in a position or to cheer us on. A lot of times it never happens.
And they can let you down.
And they will let us, and oftentimes it'll be the people closest to us, you know?
Let you down. I'm someone that, I show up very, very consistently in humans' lives. And I've learned, you know, some people are just not going to give it back to me, even though they love me. But I went through a period probably during the pandemic where I was just getting let down by everyone on different levels, love, personal, business. And I reached a point where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to pull back, like just energetically and start depending more on myself. And when I made that shift, that's when I really saw myself like elevate as a person and as a female, you know?
We have to set boundaries for ourselves.
Yes.
It took me a long time to learn that. A long time. Couple failed relationships later, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be setting boundaries for myself. But that's in, you know, like business and personal relationships, you know, and
I think for girls, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just thought of something. I think for girls as well, society brainwashes us to nurture from a very young age, giving us dolls and giving us kitchen sets, and you know, we're taught to nurture. So it's, you know, fortunately, some women are taught, hey, set a boundary, and other girls aren't, you know. And coming from where I've come from, people don't take advantage of people like that, you know. And then stepping into the music industry, people will take advantage of you. They'll push you as far as you let them, you know. So
That is facts. And I think you're onto something, and I never really thought about it from that perspective. I grew up in a household where I felt like my mom didn't really have to set boundaries because my dad was so amazing. You know, he treated her like a queen, and, you know, like I never seen them argue, and if they did, they didn't do it in front of me. So I feel like I grew up with that expectation of that's how it's supposed to be, when in reality in today's generation, girl, the men out here now are something different.
Yeah, for sure. I went through a really bad breakup actually during the time space blew up, and right after, and that changed me forever. Somebody switched on me overnight and just absolutely destroyed me to the point where I've been single since. So I'm taking my time.
Take your time, yeah, because that's the other thing too, is we have to heal. Or if you're going into a relationship, make sure you're dating someone who is already healed. Don't date no men who are not healed.
For sure.
It will not work.
No, it's hard. It's painful.
Absolutely. So you've worked with, some true legends. We're going to name a few. Timberland, Chris Brown, Scott Storch, Trippie Redd, even Too Short. So these are some major legends. Did you have the opportunity with any of those or anybody that I didn't name to actually get in the studio and work with them? And if so, what was the most memorable moment in the studio working with one of these legends?
Damn.
There's a lot of them, I'm sure.
Yeah, even some from Atlanta that passed away recently. Man, I would say the Timberland moment was fire. We had one session, and he was actually working on some beats for somebody else. And I freestyled a whole take, and he chopped my vocals up and like sampled them inside of the beat on two of the beats. So that was really cool. We didn't end up working on more records for me, but sometime in the future maybe. And then I would say that, and then also I worked with some of the guys from YSL, Lil Keed, Long Live Keed, Lil Got It, Onfung, and going with those guys was very memorable because they were the first set of men that I feel, there are others that have very much supported me, but those three really wanted to see me win, open their fan bases to me, really like let me step on the song first. Some male artists don't do that. They want to make sure they outshine me. Yes. It's like some ego thing. There's two types of male artists. The ones that are intimidated and want to make sure that they're shining bright on the record, and then there's the others that just want to see me shine regardless, and they're not competing with me. And those three guys, collaborating with them was like, I love those memories that I have. So
you are absolutely right, because I feel like women tend to get more shade in this industry from men than they do women, and it's because they're prideful. They don't want to see you outshine them, and it's crazy to me.
Yeah, I've definitely, on a business and creative level, I've had guys, just try to close doors or say, bad things about me just because I didn't give them what they wanted. It's a very, I felt like at one point I was, really like in this invisible prisoner, like questioning every step I made because I felt like every wrong move some guy could do, and now I just don't care. I'm like, what's destined for me will be.
I know that's right. That's where this comes in.
Yeah, so I was a queen of flicking the bird for years.
Got to, because I feel like we have to stand for something or we fall for anything, and this business can really eat you up, chew you up, and spit you out.
Yeah, and you gotta, that's why I show so much love to the men that have supported me, because it is rare, and you would think, it's not even from a like victim standpoint. It's just like, realistically, majority of the game are men, and these people in power, a lot of them are, they run off ego.
Absolutely. 100%
the wrong way, and you got a problem for no reason. You can do literally absolutely nothing, and it'd be a problem still.
I've experienced it to the point where they would cuss me out, and I'm like, really, like.
Yeah. I've been threatened. I've gone through it all as well. So I feel you. I'm sorry you went through that.
Yeah, and
but
likewise.
You're doing your thing. You built your own platform. It's like.
And you too, girl. Yeah. Like, listen, we are standing on business, fellas. Y'all better learn that. So let's talk about your pen game.
Yeah.
Because you have penned for Chris Brown, who is probably one of the biggest artists in the world.
Yeah, the song never came out, but that still. Experience in itself, I basically went to the studio and worked with some producers in LA and wrote a song. I was a little lit by myself with an engineer, and I went home for Christmas. I wrote the song called 2 on the Way, and I went back to Australia for Christmas, came back, and the producer called me over and goes, hey, come over, I want to play something. I was like, okay, cool. And it was crazy because when I left my session, I was like, man, Chris would sound crazy on this record. And I literally like spoke it into existence with myself. I didn't tell anyone. I just thought it was one of my songs.
Yeah.
And came back, the producer called me over and he pressed play on the song. And it was me and Chris on the hook. He had cut it for that album he did where he had like a lot of songs on it. And yeah, I got to hear us together. But the song didn't come out. But I'm hoping at some point, Chris, if you ever see this, you know, he's supported me online before as well. You know, if the universe connects the dots, maybe I could put it out. We'll see.
Chris, Mr. Brown. Christopher Brown, tap in, holla at your girl, because she's super talented. And you've got such a beautiful, humble spirit, too.
Thank you.
I feel like you are one of the type of artists that everybody would have a pleasure to work with.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot. Yeah, I just try to be a real soul. I tattoo Raw on the front of my neck. It's Real Authentic Wave, and it's just really about, you know, showing up as yourself, no matter how much you're hated for it or if the world try to project another version of you on you.
Absolutely. Your brand is all about being raw.
Yes.
Which in reverse is war.
Mm-hmm. Crazy, right? I didn't even realize. Yeah.
Talk to us about like the biggest internal war that you've had to win within yourself.
Two things at the same time. After the space moment, I was really disappointed and felt like I failed because I couldn't uphold the image that I was blessed with of having this top 10 record. I didn't have the team or foundation to keep it going, and left a record deal as well during that time and went through a really bad breakup. So it was like a whole moment of everything. The guy stole my dog, he stole me. It was just like a whole bunch of
No, he did it.
Switched up overnight, somebody in the game, but it's all good. But during that time, it was like everything at once. My career, my personal, my love life, and I didn't want to live anymore, you know? And I learned that I had to change my perspective and my mindset. I was feeling like a victim, which I was at that moment, feeling like, damn, all this stuff's happened to me. But I realized when you just point blame in life and you don't actually like put the work in to heal yourself, it's doing nothing. So I had to get up and change my mindset and realize that a top 10 Billboard in your first year is not like a failure to not continue. I wasn't ready for it, but it was the warm up, you know? So for me, I had to just change the perspective and learn about gratitude and just go on my own self-work. And that was the biggest war I had to fight, is learning to love myself again, because that relationship made me hate myself. And I had to build all that again and learn self-love.
It's amazing how much another human being can tear us down.
Work at your brain for enough time and work at your self-esteem and everything, and it got me to the point of not wanting to live anymore over one human being. And I'm like, I don't even know how that just happened, but it was 2.5 years of it, and it was a very dramatic end. You know, people that know me know it was some movie level shit. So got over that, and I'm all right. You know?
Thank God. I'm glad, girl, you back out here thriving.
Yes.
Don't mess with her though.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm cutthroat at this point.
With being like genre fluid.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Yeah. It sounded like a gender of genres.
How do you balance raw emotion with like that mainstream appeal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's that I realized at some point, like, I don't feel like to my fans, I am the best singer and the best rapper in the world and whatever. To me, I'm not worried about that. I'm not concerned with that. What I want to do is just make the art. So it's not, I don't think my art is perfect, but what is perfect? You know, like every person's perception of that is different, and I don't think there's such thing as perfection. So I think no matter what music I make, I just try to just make the art. I picture like a canvas with a bunch of painting, like bunch of colors just thrown at it, and that's the raw that I apply to every genre. Yeah.
What does a writing session look like for you? Do you like sit down and put pen to pad? Or are you getting in the studio and just vibing? How does that come together?
If I'm working with rappers, I love it pushes me because the speed, and we're on probably studio time, there's money getting spent. So I just put headphones on and freestyle line by line, and then put the lyrics and melody, which Atlanta culture taught me that.
Yes.
The artists I've been around here in LA before, I was always pen or phone. But if I'm at home or if I'm really taking my time, I'm gonna rap verse. I very much care about, you know, lyrics and punchlines and stuff. Then I will use my laptop or a phone. I normally have just coffee or coffee and a glass of liquor. And I bounce between the coffee and the liquor. When I get too lit, I bounce back with the coffee, and then I'm kind of doing this. So yeah, it depends.
That is funny. And you're right. Atlanta culture is something, boy. It'll teach you a lot.
Man, this was like a boxing ring for me of like training, like sparring in the gym. And like, I had to get quick because I was realizing like, damn, these boys, I was around a lot of male artists.
Yeah.
I'm like, these guys are fast. Like, I'm around some guys that do like 10 songs a night. I'm like, damn, their brains are, their endurance is crazy. So I was like, I need to get up to their speed.
Absolutely.
Atlanta told me that.
Atlanta's very, very fast paced with the music, with the traffic, with everything out here. If someone is just getting to know Sexton for the first time, we'll say through this interview,
okay,
what would be the very first song that you would say, hey, go to my Apple Music or my Spotify and listen to this song to really get to know me as an introduction? What would that be?
Okay, I think the first song that just came to mind is My Pain featuring On Funk. And I think because it's really giving you my singing tone and my rap tone, and we're speaking about real shit, about pain that we've been through. So I would say My Pain. That was the first one that came to mind.
Is there a visual for that one?
There is, and it's actually like a really special visual to me because we filmed. So when I met Lil Keed was the night that I made that song.
Yeah.
And he came in and was like, wait, this is you? He's like, you're fired, let's work. And Keed was in the video, and we shot the video right before he passed away.
Oh my
so
gosh.
It's like the last video that I had like before he passed. So yeah. So it's got some special memories in that one.
Yeah, I was going to say it's moments like that that you'll treasure and hang on to forever.
Yes.
Because I was thinking about it on the ride here. Silly as it may seem, but to me, like I was driving here and I always have to drive past this like a, what is it called? Like a nursing home.
Okay.
And as I was driving, this ambulance like sped around me to turn into the nursing home. And I immediately got emotional because I was like, that means there's an older person in there maybe having a heart, something's going on. And I like, it literally brought tears to my eyes because it just made me think about at any given moment, we don't know when we're going to check out.
Yeah.
So it's like we hang on to those type of memories, and that's a beautiful blessing that you had the opportunity to actually get some work in with him before he passed.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I really try to stay intentional with my goodbyes and I don't just hang up phone calls. I'm like, hey, I love you to whoever I'm talking to, and I really, you really don't know, yeah, that was I was with him the weeks leading up to that. So, but he wasn't feeling well, but I didn't think it was that, so
Yeah, absolutely. Crazy. You're right. And we have to leave people with, like you said, that my dad and I, we speak every day. And I always, the last thing I tell him is I love him every single day. Because you never know, that might be the last time.
No, you don't. And my parents were just saying they do this thing before bed. They're like, if we don't make it through the night, I'm like, why are you guys saying this?
Exactly. I don't want to hear that.
My mom started tearing up. She's like, I don't want to do this anymore. So now they tell each other, I love you. I've loved you your whole life. They do like a whole little
ritual.
Like, this is cute. We need more of this positivity in life.
That is funny. That's
I think people don't express things enough. I'm the person that will always check on people even when they don't check on me, because I don't take it personal. I feel like a lot of humans are caught up in their shit that they got going on, that they don't even realize that they're not checking up on people or how they could be there for people. So I, always am the person that's like, hey, how you doing? Just checking on you. Even if I don't get a response, I just want that person to know that I've reached out.
Man, that's beautiful.
I try.
You have a great spirit. You can, and that's why you're blessed.
Thank you, girl.
That is why you are blessed. Definitely. Yeah. So I want to talk about this song that you did. It's called One More Round with Issa.
Okay.
Issa's my family, man. Okay. I've known him for many, many, many years. Yeah. Phenomenal artist. Yeah. Just a great person. How did that song come together?
That is a good spirit. It was a bunch of us in the studio. We were all, actually TK was part of that record as well. It was him, his brother. It was a bunch of us. It was like in the studio. And there was already a little bit of the song written. The yodeling part was already written by somebody, and the beat pulled up. And we were planning to do something more like space, some like melodic stuff, But then we heard that beat and we're like, it was country hip hop for anyone that hasn't heard it. And we were like, you know what? Run it. Let's just do it. And it ended up coming out a smash. It was the group of us all drinking Don Julio, having a good time in the studio. And we wrote the record, and I think our tones sound really good together. Like,
I couldn't agree more. I agree. And I think right now is the perfect time to introduce new styles of music. Like you said, it was country hip hop, because I've been seeing quite a few hip hop artists transitioning into creating country songs, and it's working.
Yeah, for sure. I think, so for me right now, like what me and my team are focused on is building more of my hip hop and my melodic, because that's really where I started.
Yeah.
And being a white girl in the game, a lot of people have their vision of like making me this like female this and female that of like certain genres. And I feel like in the past I have like gone and experimented in rock and punk rock and even house and EDM, and my versatility is a blessing, but it's also a curse.
Yes.
Because then it's like people's opinions will come in like, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, and it got very loud at one point. Right now what I'm doing is like, you know, focusing on my hip hop and my melodic, and then at whatever point if I do want to explore with these genres I will. But I don't think an artist should limit themselves. I just think there's timing to things that you can't. I think I was confusing people sometimes, jumping all over the place. They weren't sure who I was, but it's all me. I just love music, and you know, I fortunately have the talent, you know, to be able to do it.
Yeah.
But don't limit yourself, you know.
That makes perfect sense, because like you said, if you're, you know, still, you know, getting out there, which, you know, you're very well known, but you're still, you know, working to get yourself out there. If you're all over the place, it will confuse people.
Yeah.
But it's difficult to not do that because you have such a passion for it.
And not everyone has the open mindset, because some people just like hip hop, or they just like rock, or they just, you know.
Correct. Because I'll ask some artists, would they be open? And majority of them say yes, but there are some that say no. No, absolutely not.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like in today's market too, it's like, are you going off your art or are you going off business? Because at the end of the day, you know, when Space took off, we knew it was a good song, but I don't think any of us knew that it was going to be that big, you know? And so you don't know, we have an idea of what we think is the hit, but really you don't know till you put it out.
That
you
is
know,
facts.
like I thought the joint with Issa, One More Round, would take off out the gate. It didn't, but maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. So you shouldn't limit yourself in a way, because if you go do a country song, that might be the thing to, you know, from what I know, Lil Nas X was doing rap and then did the Old Town Road.
Yes.
And then, you know what I mean? So it's like.
Absolutely. And it can take a while. There are times where there's songs that has been pushed for a year before it really blows up, or even longer for people to catch on to it. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's timing.
Yeah.
It's all about timing. What can we expect coming up next? Is there any albums or EPs in the works?
Okay, so I just dropped a song with Trippie Redd last week, I think it was, You Dig, which is on YouTube and SoundCloud.
Okay.
And then I've got a single coming up on the 23rd of May called Fuck They Think, but we had to PG it to FTT, which is basically that concept of like, fuck what everybody thinks, I want to do me, I don't care what anybody says, like I'm just in my own like place. And it's featuring Fat Trell from DC. So we're dropping that single, and then from there I have 2 fire rap records after that I'm really talking my shit and spitting bars, so that's coming too. So it's going to be a couple singles for a sec.
Man, you really worked with some dope artists, which to me shows how dope you are, because going back to Timberland real quick, I watch his Twitch channel where he does the music reviews. And as he should be, he's very critical, as he should be, because these artists need to hear that. So that says a lot that Timberland worked with you.
Yeah,
that says a lot.
Crazy. I remember being in the booth looking at him like, life is so crazy. And then, you know, I even recently was thinking about rest in peace to Scooter and Lotto Savage. I worked with them as well. They were 2 guys that believed in me back when Space blew up. And it was like, I was very new to the game, and we never put the songs out, but it's just like all these people are, you know, are legends and different artists that are like really imprinted their point in music culture and history. It's just like, it's pretty crazy. I would like to work with more female artists. It's just, you know, timing, and I find that I let people come to me, because people can be weird with energy, and so all the people I've collaborated have come to me, so that's how it's going.
Girl, I'm on that same type of time. Same type of time.
Positive, it's like hard to know.
Absolutely. You know? Like I never want to come off as being like a red flag. Like I don't jump in people's DMs and say, hey, do you want to work with me? You know what I'm saying? Like I just, like you said, let them do their homework on you, let them study you, and come to you when they're comfortable, when the time feels right, you know? And I think that makes perfect sense. So project, is there going to be a project in the works, or are you focusing on singles right now?
I'm doing a little side project where I'm actually producing. So I play guitar and I'm producing. Amazing. So that's something I'm doing on the side. But right now it's these singles.
Got it.
Fuck They Think is the next single. You better get that.
Get on board or get left behind.
It's honestly, it's a vibe. I was inspired by like Future and Travis Scott's like really big arena sounds, and we built the beat out, and I just went for it, and it sounds really good.
I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah, thank you.
Can't wait to hear it. What is the official release date?
May 23rd. Pre-save is already in my bio on Instagram. Yep, you can already get it.
So on that note, tell everybody where they can follow you on all your socials.
Yeah, for sure. So my last name is my artist name, Sexton. You can find me on all socials, all streaming platforms, everywhere. Sexton.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Who do you want to give thanks to for supporting you and loving you through your journey?
That is such a tricky question. I once on there left somebody out, and so I caused a whole shit show. Let me not forget anybody. Let me thank the universe. Let me thank my family. Let me thank like the guys from YSL that I mentioned, Ruben for setting this up and supporting me. My boy Casey, one of my day ones, never switched. Damn, there's so many people along the way, but those are a few. Thank you to the Coalition DJs. The core DJs, Hitmaker, there's so many. So
absolutely. I got one last question for you. Where are we at, y'all?
Industries.
The big one, not the little one. Industry's most wanted. What makes Sexton the industry's most wanted?
I'm bringing something that's never been done before.
I believe that because you definitely are.
Thank you.
It's a great answer.
Thank you.
Y'all come see about her. Sexton in the building. Thank you for being here today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
I appreciate it a lot, Missy.
We out of here, y'all. This is my new girl.
Bye.
I don't give a fuck what a Friday day. What a Friday day. Fuck what a Friday day.